Well, let me ask you about training. Again, Jimmy Pedro said he learned a lot from you. He learned how to do Tai Toshin, the armbar, Jujikatami, but he also learned from you training methodology. So, what's he talking about? He told me about this. What's your approach to training throughout your career and as it developed?
I always wanted to train harder than anybody else. I still train now every day. If I don't train, do something, I do an hour of my physical work, and I still go on the mat a little bit. You know, I'm 65 now, and so I'm not doing really heavy stuff on the mat, but I still like to train. And when I was 21, 20, up to 30, I was one of the best trainers. But, you know, Jimmy Pedro was one of the best trainers as well. He was one of the, he's one of your dream athletes. You know, when Jimmy Pedro steps through your door, and he was just a kid, you know, he was just young when he stepped through my door. And I had a lot of full-time trainers. So I had up to 20 really good athletes that were training hard. And I only wanted hard trainers. Give me 10 that trained hard rather than your one prima donna that, you know, you're skillful, the one that, you know, could do it. I wanted 10, you know, or 20 really hard trainers, because you can do so much with them. You can make champions. You can make them world champions. You know, if you got somebody that was a special talent and they wanted to work hard, then you had a special athlete.
Well, when you say hard trainers, what do you mean? Are these people that just like every single day are able to just grind it out, do Randori, do the training, do the boring things, just keep coming back?
Yeah, when the going gets tough, you know, and I think that was him. He had a special mentality, and you know, and the thing is, you see, when you got him in your dojo, all right, even when you're tired, when somebody's tired, and when, you know, what an example to the others. So he'd pull the other ones in as well, you know. So I had somebody that when everybody was tired and everybody was sick of it and everybody just wanted to, you know, and he'd still be there, you know, so they had to do it. So that was for me a win-win. You know, so I had all the Americans, actually. I had Bobby Berland, and I had Michael Swain, and I had Ed Liddy, and I had them all coming to visit me at different times. Jimmy was there. You know, they wanted to be the best. In the end, we had such a great club atmosphere. They wanted to come for the hard work. Mm-hmm. And they knew that if they came, they were going to be dragged out, and we were going to do physical training, and it was physical training like they hadn't done before. But it wasn't just the physical training; it was the judo and the skill side of it as well. And so I always had a great empathy with the U.S. team, Olympic team. So a lot of your Olympic medalists have been through with me, you know, and so I'm proud of that, because we had, you know, some great times, and they're still great mates now. And so in New York, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to have everybody is going to be there. They're all coming in.
All old friends.
All old friends.
And new friends. So what's a tough week look like at your peak? Physical training, Randori, is there days off? Are you training like twice a day?
Twice a day. So we do the preparation training, we do the running, we do the weight training, we do the skills in the morning as well. The skills is, for me, one of the biggest advantages that any full-time trainers can have, because what happens is that with most clubs, you're trying to fit everything into that hour and a half or 2 hours. You know, you fit your skills, you fit your physical training and your sparring, and you know, everything's in there, all grouped in. So the biggest advantages of having a full-time group is that you can split your skills, and your skills lay your foundation. So the biggest advantage is being able to work specifically on things without having to worry about getting to do your your Randori or your sparring, or then you got to go back you just do the skills.
Well, when you talk about skills, like what is, say your specialty is a Tai Toshi, what Are we talking about Uchikomi doing a bunch of fists, working with bands? Are you doing throws? Are you actually just having conversations about like specific, like tiny details of throws? Like what does skills mean?
All those things about doing your repetition practice, making sure the repetition's correct. There's good repetition.
So when we say good repetition, does it Uchikomi when you're just fitting the throw versus doing the throw? Where do you land on the value
and
of
getting
both?
it moving? So one of the biggest, most important things is getting it moving. If we do something static, again, it's that static target. You need to get it moving. So you need to do a repetition, and also you need to do a correct repetition, because if you're doing 100 the repetitions that are not correct, and repetitions under pressure, too much pressure, without somebody overseeing those skills to make sure that you correct the skills. Because if you're doing a skill, if you're doing it 99 times incorrectly, all right, then repetition doesn't make perfect. Repetition makes permanent. So you've got to make it as perfect as you possibly can. So actually, that skills group there is the most important thing. And what I used to do is oversee it. So I'd oversee it to make sure that it was done properly.
So you're watching the footwork, you're watching the gripping, and then just constantly adjusting how people.
I'll give you an example. Jimmy Pedro. Jimmy was one of the hardest when he was 19 years of age, right? So he'd always asking me to practice, always. So he's always on me all the time. So I do groundwork with him. And could I put him on his back? No. I was all on him, and he'll tell you, but he was just, wouldn't go. He was going to be great, without a doubt. All right. So I wanted everybody on with him. Everybody. So everybody went on with him, and so it only improved their game, and it improved him. And then with, small technical things that have stayed with him that we were doing with the Jujigatami that was passed on to Kayla and then gone on, to Rhonda. And it's all small things that I can see sometimes that, it's passed on.
What about the Taitoshi? He said he learned a lot from you from that throw.
Yeah, and he does it differently.
And so I should mention that's one of the trickier throw. I mean, I still don't understand.
It is a tricky throw.
I don't understand. So for people who don't know, boy, how would you even explain it? It doesn't make any sense. It's when you just look solo, the movement you make is quite simple, but how you get person to be off balance, how you actually get them to be thrown, and when you do throw it successfully, it looks like a whipping motion that's effortless. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense other than every technique starts with the hands. Yeah. So it's what we call kazushi, and you're pulling somebody off balance, getting them moving, pulling them off balance. Taitoshi means body drop. So it's basically 2 legs across your partner's body. Well, I've got my back to you, all right, and I've already pulled you off balance with my hands, and then I'm going to just flex my legs up just as you're coming onto my back, and then you're going to go over. If I coordinated all right, if it doesn't get coordinated right, then you're going to come right on my back and try to rip my arm off. So I've got to get it right.
What was if you can convert it to words? Some secret ingredients that allowed you to pull it off at the highest levels. The Taitoshi.
The hands start every technique. So getting the repetition right, first of all. So you need, to get the repetition right, you need a good partner. So actually training your partner to react in the right way is just as important as learning the throw. So actually what happens is, we could get a lesson of beginners. We teach the throw and then go, right, off you go. And 90% of them will get it wrong because their partner's not reacting in the right way. So half of it is to get the person to react as they should. So if I was doing it with you and I, first thing I'd teach you to do is to react the way I want you to react. And then I'd react the way that you want me to react. All right. So then we'd have success with it rather than you leaning back in the wrong way or resisting or frightened you going over. So, so actually that's why 9 times out of 10 people get the technique wrong.
It's actually fascinating to me because in the United States where I came up, judo, the level of judo is not comparable to the level of judo in the rest of the world. Of course, the Pedro Center is an exception to that. So
certain athletes, yeah.
It's certain athletes. Like, I mean, when I trained recently with Jimmy Pedro, it's like even like the 16-year-old kids are just all deadly. So it was terrifying. But I remember the Russian national team came through Philadelphia, and one of the things that really impressed me is just how much easier judo was, training judo with them. They moved correctly as like ukes, as the people getting thrown. Every aspect of their body movement was correct in terms of it felt right to be throwing them, to be training with them. Everything about the gripping, about the position of their hips, about the shoulder, everything. It was fun. It was easy, and I always felt like I was learning. So I think all of that is loaded in, I guess, into proper training. So you're developing through the throws, you're developing the right technique.
Yeah, you have to develop between, I always had training partners that I trained with up to each Olympic Games, and we worked together we did the skills together, and then we worked together in order to make techniques work, and we got it moving as quickly as we could. And one of the worst things that I see is, and I see a lot of YouTube stuff with coaches.
Here we go.
Don't even start me on that. Don't even start me on that. But
what
you're laughing because you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Okay, No, I'm actually laughing because I'm enjoying you talking trash. But but you're talking about technique.
Just the coaches and their clipboard guys, with the clipboards and the stopwatches, and they got these kids running up and down the mat and then doing uchikomi of something that's technically incorrect, 10 times, and then running up and doing another 10 at the other side, and actually mixing everything together, and it's just a mess.
Technique is
just
important.
Technical mess.
That said, some of it is conditioning type stuff that you were doing. So what is like the hardest type of physical conditioning you were doing?
Probably ran too much. When I was a kid. If I could go back now, I wouldn't run as much. And I ran hard and I ran strong. And I remember doing London Marathon one time, and I said I'm never going to do it again. I did never. But I ran, and I was trying to. The problem was when I did the London Marathon is I was trying to beat 3 hours.
It's that desire to win again.
It's totally insane. It was insane. Yeah. And I went out through half marathon in what I thought was a good time. Anyway, I got to 16, 17 miles and totally blew. And
so you went out too fast.
Yeah, I went out too fast.
And then you just
I died.
Keep going.
Absolutely.
I
died. Lex, I got in. I crossed the line. I remember seeing this bridge over there, right? And the bridge, it was the finishing line over the bridge. And I had to get there. It was the longest bridge I've ever walked over. And run. So I got over the bridge, and I took one step over the line like that. And there was a guy over there, and he was trying to rush everybody through, and he was going, come on. There was people behind you. Get your hands off me. I said, get your hands off me now, like that, because we're going to fall out, and I couldn't move. I couldn't move. Yeah. I was white. And
it was amazing that you made it to the finish line, though.
I did. I got over there, and Donald Duck passing me was a tell.
Oh, there's a person dressed as Donald Duck.
Donald Duck, yeah. But the thing was, I still crossed over 3:38. I crossed over 3:38, but I lost 38 minutes in the last 4 miles.
So that bridge, longest bridge ever. So you regret the run?
So anyway, I would do the running a little bit differently, but we ran hard. We did the weight training. We did good weight training. It was all conditioned. So, it was never the same training all the time. So it was always, we'd have certain phases building up. It was scientifically done. It wasn't just out there, run, weight training, judo, same judo all the time. It was always pretty scientific.
Good variety.
It was a good variety, and it had build up, and it had a speed phase, and it had a power phase, and it had a base condition.
What about the Randori? Was there a method to the madness there? How much Randori did you do?
A lot. So the most important thing for me, I see now that there's a lot of people out there that are not getting enough Randori. They're not Randoring enough. And there's a lot of sports science people, and they're running and they're weight training, and they're doing it all to death. And there's not enough judo. And the only ones, like you have a look at some of the Eastern Bloc countries that are getting together. They're having these mass camps, and the Japanese, they have, just massive people that they can do there. They're doing probably 50, 60 randoris a week.
Wait, what?
50 or 60 a week.
Wow.
The average person is getting together. I mean, when I was doing randoris, when I went to Japan, it was just purely for 60 randoris a week.
How much is each one? How long is it?
So they were 5 minutes then.
5 minutes.
They're 4 minutes now. But
that's a lot, especially given the level of the competition there.
Well, you can do it in Japan because it's fairly light. If they throw you, they throw you. You throw them.
So there's like a level of like you're moving at a close to 100%, but the actual power and the force is not quite
different in Korea. Korea was harder. It was more physical. So you couldn't do 50 randoris in Korea. You'd die. Yeah. So you do 30.
Randori. Wow.
Yeah. But you need the randori. And so I chased the randoris. So I chased them into training camps. I chased them all over my country. So I was getting 40 to 50 a week in my club. And then I would go to training camps and add more. And I honestly don't think that they do enough now. A lot of countries.
Somebody who doesn't know, Randori is live training. So
yeah, sparring.
Was there a few people you remember that were just like really tough to go against? You mentioned Goldtooth. Is there others like it?
Goldtooth was pretty horrific.
Yeah.
He was.
Oh, you got him in the end.
Pretty horrible. I got him in the end.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Is there like I suppose I should say not just tough, but just good training partners that you like?
Great training partners. I remember with Nishida, and Nishida was, I mentioned him earlier, said he was one of the best. I mean, he was just such a great technician. So I would go there to his dojo and he'd ask me to practice. And he'd finish the practice, and you know that he would always say, another one, we'll do another one, right? So you'd go, oh, yeah, because you had to make out that you weren't that bothered that you had to do another one. So you do another one back to back, and then he'd go sometimes, let's do another one. So you'd end up doing 15 minutes with the same guy who could possibly throw you at any time, and that was hard, so, but I remember those particular guys, and there were plenty of those.
What do you do with the exhaustion that you're feeling in those? Like how deep did you go in terms
you
of
have to dig deep, and I think that was the great thing about having certain like European training camps were more physical. So I remember, that we would have European training camps where you'd fight Germans, and then the Dutch, and then the French, and then, the Russian, or you'd have all sorts different styles and people there to fight. And that was something then you'd have to dig in at a different place, come out of there.
Well, where do you go mentally when how many times have you gone there where like you're really in deep waters exhaustion wise in competition, actually?
Competition, it's happened, so sometimes you go past where your forearms are absolutely blown. I remember the final of Czech tournament that we had, and fought a Frenchman in the final. And my forearms were so blown, I couldn't shake his hand, And then I remember they were solid, absolutely solid, and they had lactic acid in them. Yeah. And I remember I stood on the rostrum, and they were giving me things, and I couldn't grip them properly. So I was saying, put it under my armpit, or chin like that, trying to hold this. I couldn't hold anything, and. So there are times when I really had to go really deep. I remember fighting two East Germans the same day, one of the competitions, and the number 1 and the number 2 East Germans. And that was another day where I had to really dig deep.
That's the fascinating thing about some of these tournaments is if you go full distance on several matches in a row, the way you're seeing in the finals are two people that have like fought a lot that day.
Yeah. And we have golden score now, so we see a lot of guys, that going into golden score and they've done one contest of 4 minutes and then they go another 4 minutes. And then, we've had some go into a third 4 minutes. This is all back to back. It might be in the first round. It might be in the final, and we've got some now that are coming out and you can see the stats and the ones that win in golden score. So we got Japanese Hashimoto. He's the Japanese representative now. Instead of Ono, because Ono's finished. So Hashimoto's coming out. He was in a tournament last week.
Is there a good one to look up?
Yeah, just have a look at him. So Hashimoto's in white here. All right. And there's a great example there. Well, I'm glad we got onto that, So, I mean, he has got great technique. Hashimoto.
Effortless.
There's the Taitoshi. All right.
Wow.
So you can see exactly what we're talking about. That great timing. And again, sometimes he backs them up to the edge and then he'll wait for them to come back in towards. They don't want to step out to get a penalty.
I guess that's a cross grip Taitoshi. Did I see that wrong?
Yeah, cross grip, different grips. Yeah. Oh, great examples there. Just what we were talking about.
Making it look so easy. Wow.
So he's going to be their representative at 73 kilograms. Look at him, back him up again. And again, just catching him as he pushes back.
So push, and then...
Yeah, action, reaction at his best there.
Yeah.
And slight change of direction. He sometimes goes down onto his knee there, which is Seotoshi. It turns from Taitoshi, which is springing up, to Seotoshi that's going down.
Oh, the title of the video is his Taitoshi is a work of art.
Yeah, this is him at his best, showing him doing what he does best. But he had to go 3 times into golden score last week and dig deep and lost one of them, I think.